this motherfucker out of the park!
Good evening, DeGent Nation. First half of the NFL season, all but over. We are into week 9 of our NFL picks. I am co-host Money Mansman, joined by, look at this sellout. For the first time in 5 weeks, Denver Broncos fan, Big Bucks Beta. Big Bucks, all right. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
I'm honoring great Buffalo Bills linebacker Von Miller, former LA Rams Super Bowl winning linebacker Von Miller. Just gotta appreciate a good player when you love him.
You are such a. I'll tell you what, and I was just showing you the short that was posted on YouTube about me being a fraud. This is your fraud moment. For 4 weeks, Denver sucks. I hate this team.
I do.
You come up here, they win one.
They're still my team.
They win one game, and look at you, Broncos.
All right. Well, okay. Here's the thing. I don't wear the Broncos gear, especially on game days. It's kind of a weird. I don't know if it's tradition, curse, call it. If I wear essentially a Broncos jersey, for the most part, they lose. So my thinking here is, you know what? The Broncos are on a bye week. They can't fuck that up, can they? So this, to me, is like the one time I can wear it safely and not have to worry about the next week. So hence why I got the gear on. They did come off the win in London. I don't get a chance to celebrate this team much, God damn it. Can you just give me one time?
I'm glad to see you're at least honoring Buffalo Bills standout Von Miller.
2-time winning Super Bowl champion Von Miller. But
if he retires as like a Ram, I mean, how much will that hurt you?
That would break my heart, considering how much he supposedly has love for Denver. But if, God willing, knock on wood, if he took the Bills to a Super Bowl and retired as a Bill, I could at least, understand that. I could respect that. And not just because that's your team. I just think if you go to 3 different teams and you take 3 different teams to a championship and win, I think that it's okay to call it quits wherever the fuck that third team is, regardless.
But yeah, man, week 9, truncated schedule, so not a lot of games.
12 games.
So we're gonna have to do better. We're gonna have to do well this week, right?
We have to do better. We got to be sharper, and I think we can't. I think what we should do in honor of the truncated, let's just power through them. I don't think we need any breaks. I think we just need to get it out there, get it done, give it our best shots, and let's just see where it lays.
Distinguished DeGents, let's ride.
Let's ride. Cheers, DeGents.
Oh, what's the drink of choice tonight?
Oh God, some hazy IPA I got at the store for last Sunday. I'm just killing that, and then just some good old scotch for when I get angry and want to yell at you later.
All right,
we'll see how that goes. But just to cap off a lovely day that I've personally had. We don't have to get into that, though. We all know why we're here. It's week 9. We got some football to talk about. Less games, more competition. Let's go, Jason. I'm ready when you are, bud.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. We'll give a quick shout-out to the Harbor Discussions channel. Producer John is still on vacation, unfortunately. He should be back by next week. We will be back in studio, not doing the mobile. However, got a lot of interesting stuff coming out for him. He's coming back with a couple Denver interviews. And, nice. Yep, so we should be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, let's get into the first game, Thursday Night Football. Philadelphia travels to the Houston Texans. They are now minus 14-point favorites. That's 1-4. Yeah, that's right, Blitz. That's a mascot Blitz there. That's 14 points, minus 770 on the money line, plus 540 for the Texans at home. Over-unders at 45.5. I think this is going to be a quick handicap. I mean, we're getting arguably the best NFL team and arguably the worst NFL team on a Thursday night football game. instead of being blind here and just saying fuck it, take the Eagles, I'm gonna like prove the point and show that I actually did my research and actually have an educated decision like a true adult. Yeah, Eagles, all 5 matchups against the Texans, they've won since 2002. Eagles have won 4 of their last 5 matchups against AFC opponents. Jalen Hurts has won his last 3 matchups against AFC teams. What concerns me, I guess, about this team is that they have rarely covered on the road lately. 1-4 ATS in the Eagles' last 5 road matchups, which the only game that they covered was against the Commies earlier this season. This season, personally, 1-2 ATS on the road for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts had 1 Thursday Night Football start already in his career. He lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look at the other side of the football, though. It's Davis Mills. Jason, do you want me to keep going? Should I say more? I mean, it's Davis fucking Mills.
Yeah.
Are we really gonna
No.
bet on this guy?
No. And by the way, so remember you started the show saying that this was the week to be sharp. This is the week to really show our betting acumen. Well, I'm gonna do that by best bet. This is gonna shock
Yeah.
you. Best bet, squarest pick on the board, Eagles -14.
Yeah. It's the sharp square play. It's the
There's
sharp
really
square.
nothing to. I mean, when you look at the stats, you have the worst rushing team in the worst rushing defense in the league. They just gave up 200 yards to Derrick Henry against the sixth-ranked Eagles rushing attack. And then on the other side, if they get behind, Davis Mills and their passing offense, that's one of the worst, is going up against a top 10 unit in the Eagles. It's just the matchup's terrible. I get it's Thursday night, Eagles on the road. This could definitely be a sort of letdown type spot. I don't see it. I don't think Houston's competitive in this game.
I don't either. I mean, let's look at Davis Mills anyways. He had 1 Thursday Night Football start. He lost to the Panthers. He really, I mean, again, he's not a good quarterback. 0-6 against the NFC in his career. Texans 1-4-1 ATS against the NFC teams with Davis Mills. This is a really weird situation ATS wise, because normally it would be smarter to lay this amount of points with a home team. But God, the Texans are just horrible. They are nowhere near as good as other sharps have predicted them to be. They're looking exactly like their record shows. This year alone, road teams on Thursday Night Football have covered 3 of their last 4 games. This trend just looks like another game where it's going to continue. My over-under pick here, if I had to make one, considering now it's at 45.5, makes it even better. I liked the under at 43.5, where it was 2 days ago. So this year, 3-5 under on Thursday Night Football. Texans are 1-2 under at home. Eagles are 1-2 under on the road. So at 45.5, I would lean under here, because again, considering you have an Eagles offense that just seems to do whatever they want most of the time, and a Houston defense who just not only gives up the rock every play, but an Eagles defense who literally is all honestly one of the best right now this year. It's hard for me to imagine like what the hell Houston's even really going to do here on such short rest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No need to get into it anymore. I think it's pretty straightforward. The Eagles are just too good, and the matchups are so bad. It's hard to even predict, like, in what world is this a close game? I mean, barring the Eagles just completely, like, fumbling the opening kickoff or doing something like that, it shouldn't be close.
Not at all. All right, next game, Indianapolis and Sam Ellinger travel to the New England Patriots as 5.5-point road dogs. Sunday, 1 o'clock start time. No London game this week. Plus 210 for the Colts, minus 255 for the Patriots. The over-under's at 39.5. Money Management, your thoughts?
Don't really like this game. The numbers seem to tend to support the Colts, actually. Road team has covered in Patriots 5 of their last 6 games, and the Colts have actually been good as road dogs, winning 4 of their last 5, strangely enough, as road dogs. Big concern may be that the Indianapolis defense is only middle of the pack against the run, and the Patriots are going to want to do that. Um, I don't know this Colts team. It's they you look at them and they're one of those teams where, and it seems like a lot of teams are having these issues with turnovers where the Patriots offense has given up a lot of turnovers. Maybe they should be better than where they are because of the number of times. Like you look at the Chicago game, the turnovers that they had. You look at some of the other games, recently with turnovers kind of costing the Patriots. And the Colts have kind of been the same thing where their defense has been okay, just hasn't really gotten a lot of turnovers. I think these are two sort of middle of the road teams that maybe they could either be a bit better than they should be or might be a bit worse than you think. They're just sort of two middle of the road teams. Considering it's 5.5, I'm going to lean Colts, but I wouldn't bet this game if I were you. I'm not betting it.
It's weird that you said hang on, it's weird that you said that the stats would lean towards the Colts. I actually think the opposite here. I actually think that, well, maybe not stats, but history. History leans towards New England by a long shot. Just in this millennia alone, the Colts have won in New England twice. 2005 and 2006. With Peyton Manning.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, how many of those games have been Peyton Manning, Tom Brady games?
Sure, but let's look at after that with Andrew Luck and every other quarterback they've had every other year. Lost every game, failed to cover, 0-4. New England 8-2 straight up in their last 10 home games against the Colts. Admittedly, though, as you kind of mentioned, or like just a second ago, all those games were in the Tom Brady era. Since then, Pats have lost their last matchup against the Colts. That was in Indianapolis and with Mac Jones. Kind of what's concerning, too, is Mac Jones. He's only 4-7 straight up at home. He's actually lost 3 of his last 4 home games. That includes this disastrous Monday Night Football game he had against the Bears, where he was expected to show up and return and then got benched after 3 drives. Patriots, they're 1-2 ATS at home. And kind of like what you said, my concern here is that this is what seems to me to be like a get-right game for the Patriots, where they actually get it together because everything is leaning in their direction to take it, including the 5.5-point swing. And then all of a sudden, is this just going to be a spot where the Pats lay an egg?
Well, they play the Jets again next week. I mean, could it be a look?
I mean, I'm not if I'm the Pats, I'm not concerned about that. I get the look-ahead angle there, and I like what you did there. It's just my problem is you want me to lay 5.5 with a Colts team that's still trying to figure it out and get it together at quarterback.
I don't want you to lay anything in this game. I'm not a fan. You're exactly right. I mean, the Patriots could very easily win this game by 20.
And what's more realistic? The Patriots winning at home against the Colts, which they always do, or the Colts winning on the road against a team they never beat in Foxborough. And considering, too, they're 1-3 ATS on the road, 1-2-1 straight up, I can't tell the people if they're going to bet money to take it on the Colts. I'd rather tell them to take it on the Pats. Because I feel like if you were to bet this game 10 times, at least 8 of those, you're going to bet the Patriots.
And you know what's crazy? I'm doing it again. Guess who I picked up in fantasy this week? The Patriots defense. I'm doing it again and didn't even realize. Because I'm thinking...
You know what, though? I'm not going to give you shit because you're calling yourself out here, so I appreciate that.
In fairness to this game, I actually... And I think I made a note of this. Oh, no, I didn't make a note on this one. I would be looking towards the under in this game because I think both offenses are not good.
This would be my over-under pick of the week, to be quite honest with you. Indy is 1-7 over-under. They're tied with Denver for the most unders. So you're 100% right, especially with you picking up the Patriots defense. That just makes sense. But I could see your angle where you're saying that, like, if Mac Jones doesn't show up, what the hell kind of game is this? We saw the same thing with Taylor Heineke.
And plus, too, it's a points play in the sense of I don't know if I'm really waving the flag. Well, first off, I don't even, like I said, I don't really even like this game. But I wouldn't be waving the flag for a Colts victory. Like, 5.5, I think, is a lot. I could see the Patriots winning this game, 16-14.
Yeah.
13-9. Like, this is the type of game that could be a lot of running, a lot of punting, kind of an ugly sort of game. I'm not.
Well, considering the Pats beat the Jets 19-9, I mean, I could see where you're not impressed with their offense either. A game where really it should have, if it was the Bills, the Chiefs, I mean, hell, like, you could have given the Jets, I want to say the Titans, but I know that didn't go well the last time they played. I don't know. You could give the Jets any other decent offense, and that game would have been a blowout. But considering it was the Pats and they only put up 19,
well,
I could see exactly
they're
what you're
going to
saying.
throw 3 interceptions too. I mean, that's a lot of those points. They got 6 points, 6, maybe 9 points off turnovers. The Patriots, so
maybe. Well, I think we've gone on long enough about this game. I think it's time to get into your team. Let's do it. Buffalo traveling to the New York Jets for the first time this year. They were originally, I want to say, 13.5, maybe 13-point favorites, down to 12.5 point favorites. Sorry, 13.5. They were 13.5. Now they're 12.5. They are 12.5 point favorites on the road against the Jets. Minus 620 on the money line, plus 460 for the Jets. Over-unders at 46.5. It's your team. I'll give you the honors if you want, but otherwise, I know it's tradition. It's back and forth, so I'll leave it up to you. Who wants to go?
Why don't you go first? Because I'm curious what you think about this one.
JA17 against the Jets. That's my handicap. 3-1 ATS, 4-0 straight up in the last 4 at least. God, all time with Josh Allen, 6-2 straight up, 5-3 ATS. This season alone, the Bills are 3-1 straight up and 2-2 on the road. But Zach Wilson at home, 3-5 straight up. This is his first game against Buffalo. He somehow managed to avoid both games last year.
Oh my God! Okay, wow.
It was. I want to say one of those games was the Mike White game.
Mike White threw 4 interceptions against the Bills last year.
And what do you think Zach Wilson's going to do that's any different?
Well, I think they're going to be. My thing is definitely this is a Bills. The question's really, are the Bills going to cover the spread? And I think definitely you got to go with the Bills here just because.
Jason, do you remember? I keep bringing this up in the podcast for episode to episode. Remember when I keep saying the payday loan? Do you remember which game it was? It was last year with the Bills and the Jets. Ironically enough, it was November 14th, 2021. The Bills were a 13.5 point road favorite against the Jets. And I said, let's get the payday loan. Let's just throw it on the Jets. You said, you know what? Not that confident on the high number. I said fine, and then they just ended up blowing them out.
Well, this time the Jets' defense is stingy, and I think the question for this game is going to be the Bills on offense have been very bad in certain games with turnovers, and the question is, are they going to make enough mistakes to kind of let the Jets hang around in the game? This is curious. Like, this to me would be a live bet type game because if the Bills get up early. What I'm going to do is wait for the Jets to try and climb back and then bet the Bills. Because if the Bills get up early, Zach Wilson's going to be forced to throw the ball. And I think exactly like you. If he's forced to throw the ball, run around, do hero shit, that's not going to work out.
Not at all. I'm going to make a very bold prediction here. History tends to repeat itself at times. I think this happens again. I think Zach Wilson finally faces the real ghosts on the field that Sam Darnold was talking about.
Take away Trey is back.
Trey is back. They got Naheem Hines. And you know what? This is the weird thing. I mentioned earlier how I would have taken the Colts and the New England game as my over-under pick. This game is actually my over-under pick of the week, and I'm taking a very bold under 46.5.
Oh, I actually like it. I like it.
this is the kind of game I'm going to expect a complete and utter blowout, and the Bills to either basically lay it on them and not let them do anything, or this is going to be a game the Jets defense actually shows up and Josh Allen gets a little bit humbled. But bottom line, too, and this is the stat that actually really pushed it over, guess who is tied for second in under games this year?
Is it
Buffalo.
Yeah.
1-6. All 4 road games they've had this year have gone under.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I could see a game very similar to last week where the Bills go and score 27 and it's like 27-10.
Now, the only thing that scares me is this is going to come down to a field goal like it did with the Broncos game, the Packers Bills, where just a lot of these games come down to a last second score or a score like late in the fourth that you're praying misses and somehow happens. Last week, I don't know what's more of a witchy week. And when I say witchy, I mean, it just feels like some games are cursed. Like, is it going to be this week or is it last week? Which I don't know which one's more witchy. But this, to me, just seems like we're destined for a repeat. Bills are just going to come in and fuck them up.
Yeah.
That's my handicap.
This is this is like what you call it? This could be a Von Miller game. I could see Von having a couple sacks, tormenting the young kid. Looking forward to it. I hope the Bills run him out of
Oh, this will be great. Oops. There we go. Anyways, any other final thoughts on your Bills? Because I know this is your team. I know we went over in the recap how pissed off you were about their performance on Sunday night. I'll throw this out there for you. If they repeat a similar kind of performance where they just start disrespecting the Jets by not really trying, are you going to have any different feelings? Is this going to be a similar rant week in and week out, or do you think that this was a one-off? It might be a little
different because it's a 1 o'clock game. You know, like it's a 1 o'clock game on the road in New York. The stadium might be half empty. People might be throwing beer bottles at Zach Wilson if he goes and can't move the ball. Like, I could see it. It might be more justified if that happens this game. Now, this is the type of game, though, you have to win just because every game's important. With the Chiefs, you must have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So they really can't afford to drop a game like this because every game is going to count. But it'll be a little more excusable than last week where you're on prime time in front of your home fans and sort of just take the fourth quarter off.
Gotcha. No, I'm right there with you. And, you know, this would be a weird not a double parlay. This would be a weird parlay situation. I would take the Bills maybe to win with the under if I was trying to play this game, but I didn't want to play the spreads. I would maybe pair it with that over under 46.5. Especially, too, if you think like me and it's going to be a blowout. If you actually think the Jets might wake up for this for whatever reason, I will say the Jets have generally scored anywhere from 10 to 17 points against the Bills. So, concerningly, the over just could kind of hit by default. But now that this is Zach Wilson's first game against him, I just see the pressure mounting. I don't see him really performing here. I mean, when your wide receivers are calling you out, too, and saying that you have no chemistry because you don't throw it to them. That's
Yeah, they're a mess. They're a mess, and especially, too, like I said, if the Bills get up early, this could be really ugly because
it could be really
bad. The game the Jets want to play. They want to run the ball. They want to keep Zach Wilson with manageable throws, keep it close. They can't win a track meet with the Bills. They can't win a track meet with the Bills. There's no way.
Can't see it happening. All right, I'm done with that game. We'll go on to the next one here. Miami, coming off the win from Detroit, travels to Chicago. 5-point favorites now. I want to say, nope, it actually stayed at 5. I thought it was down. 5-point favorites, minus 215 for the Dolphins, plus 180 for the Bears. The over-under's at 45.5. Mansman, you faded the Dolphins last week, took the Detroit Lions. Almost worked out in your favor. Miami ended up coming back. I faded the Dallas ATS line. Chicago laid an egg. what's the play here between these two teams where it just seems almost like a polar opposite situation in literally every sense of the term.
So it's weird because this would actually be, if I was into over unders, this would be a game I'd be looking at the under, and here's why. Now, again, you have to be careful because both of these teams have been involved in some big trades that could change the outlook of the team. So
very much so.
That is, be aware. Like this is why I would really be hesitant to play this game because I don't know how big the trades are going to be for the Bears and what the changes are going to be. But you look at the stats. Miami has been terrible running the ball. They've been great passing when you look at their overall numbers. Chicago's defense has been good against the pass, have one of the worst defenses in the league against the run. And if you look at it the other way, Chicago, top rushing team in the league, against a top 10 rush defense, Miami's defense has been susceptible to the pass, and we know Justin Fields doesn't throw. So that was really my handicap for this game. If the Dolphins can't run and are going to have trouble throwing against the Bears defense, and the Bears want to run but might not be able to do so against Miami's defense, tells me that this might be a lower scoring game than people think, especially too, it's in Chicago. My thought would be that as a result, you would go with the under. And in terms of an actual play on the spread, one of the key rankings here was Dolphins actually haven't covered in their last 5 games. Been bad ATS. Well, no, that's not true. They covered. I wonder if
they covered last week.
Did the spread go up before game time? That's weird. I wonder if the site I was looking at treated the spread as 4 and called it a push. That's interesting. I don't know.
They were minus 3.5 come game time.
I thought they were minus 3.5 too, but the stat I saw said they didn't cover in their last 5. That's interesting. So maybe that.
They didn't cover in the previous 4 from my records. Okay.
Maybe it was 4 or 5. I don't know. But yeah, regardless, I think it's going to be a close game. Miami, regardless of whether it was last 5, 4, or 5, whatever the case may be, hasn't necessarily been good covering, has also been a better home team than road team. So if I have to choose, which I wouldn't want to, Miami money line, Bears +5 in what I think could be a low-scoring sort of 4-point game.
Gotcha. Well, I'll give you shit and start with this. Before you think I'm being emotional here and just picking a team that screwed me over last week, I'm going to start out by saying this is a handicap where I think an argument can be made for both teams. I'll start real quick with the Bears. I think the argument here is they're 2-0 versus AFC teams this year, straight up. And they're 1-0-1 ATS. Chicago's also 3-1 straight up in ATS in their last 4 home games. They last lost that Thursday night football game to Washington, which was a really weird spot. I even called that spot and said, take Washington. Miami, admittedly, has not looked that great. They came back against a Detroit Lions team to literally that last second touchdown got them the win and the cover. But if they missed that, I think we're talking entirely different about this team. Ultimately, this is what I think it comes down to. And very similarly with the trade deadline, I think, again, number one, Tua is now going into his 3rd game back from his concussion and his injury. I think he's starting to warm back up. I think he looked a lot better last week than he did the week prior. Number 2, you look at Miami and how they actually upgraded at the trade deadline by getting Bradley Chubb. So that would be more of a reason for them to think that they're going to stop the Bears' run, which is something they really love to do. They also now have a clear RB1 running back with Raheem Mostert. But additionally, too, which I actually think will boost the running back core, they got Jeff Wilson from the Niners, potentially, and this is something I would have to look up, Raheem Mostert's former teammate in San Francisco. So I think that's going to boost the locker room morale a little bit. You look at Chicago and what they did on their defense, they essentially got draft picks and got rid of their 2 best players. So all of a sudden,
I can't argue with this handicap. I can't argue with this.
Yeah, so you lose Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. You give up a number 2 round pick for Chase Claypool. And again, as I said in the week 8 recap, in the trade deadline discussion, was wide receiver really the desperate need that this team needed to get them over this hump? I really don't think it was. And considering that you got other teams got, God, you look at Dallas and Cleveland. Cleveland gave up a 5th round for Amari Cooper. Arizona gave up a 2nd rounder and got DeAndre Hopkins. Chicago gets Chase Claypool. I don't see the value there in that play to begin with. I don't see the value in giving up your top 2 defensive players. You look at what Dallas did last week to this team, and admittedly, more of that was on the defensive side of the ball. But now you got Miami coming in. They have arguably one of the top offensive weapons with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, that running back core I mentioned earlier with Mostert, and now Jeff Wilson, who, let's be real, Jeff Wilson wasn't a scrub. He was actually very serviceable. He was able to pound the rock as well. It's hard for me to think that this Chicago team is all of a sudden going to show up out of nowhere. But admittedly, what you said, be very careful with this game. We don't know what these teams are going to be with all these new players who are coming into new schemes potentially. Miami, though, 4-1 straight up and ATS against NFC opponents in their last 5. That one loss was to Minnesota, but if you remember correctly, that was with their 3rd string quarterback playing.
Yeah.
Miami won 4 of the last 5 matchups against Chicago, if you go back to 2002. I don't know how squared this is going to be. If I look at the stats real quick, it's looking like Miami's getting 77% of the money on the spread, 72% of the bets. But honestly, this would be my sharp square pick. I would take Miami here in a heartbeat. Ironically enough, I did write over on the over-unders here at 45.5, but I think you're more correct, and I'm going to change this to the under because realistically with these, I know Miami's defense tends to not shine lately, but I can't imagine a quarterback who can't really throw for 200 yards passing except for all but one game. They're going to run a lot, and if Miami can just stop that, I just think you shut them down completely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely, like I said, I'm not a big over-under guy, but I definitely, if I was, I'd be looking at the under in this game, and I expect it to be close. So.
Gotcha. Let's get to a more exciting game, or at least on paper, maybe. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, they go to Detroit as 3.5-point road favorites. Minus 194 on the money line, plus 162 for the Lions. The over-under is at 49.5. Real quick before we get started, Jason, 54% of the bets are on Green Bay, minus 3.5. 58% of the money also on Green Bay. Your comments. Is it my turn?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, no, it is, because you went first with...
Yeah, it is your turn.
Yeah, look, sorry about that. Aaron Rodgers, I think he's still suffering from the immunization side effects of that ayahuasca trip because that guy still can't win. Admittedly, though, he did cover 10.5 against Buffalo, and I don't want another reminder of that because that was my best bet.
Did he?
No,
Josh
he didn't.
Allen covered that by throwing 2 interceptions.
Jair Alexander and some other dumbass on the Packers defense. And to be fair, Buffalo just kind of gave it up at halftime and said, fuck it. But look, Detroit is Detroit.
What? I was expecting, Aaron Rodgers always kills the Lions, except for last year at the end of the year when it was just...
Well, you have to remember, he sat out for the other half.
Yeah.
And that was a game where they had number 1. You expect that kind of result. Yeah. Detroit, losers of their last 4 in a row, ATS, 5 in a row straight up. Or I gotta look that up. Maybe I wrote that wrong. Either way, they're fucking losers. Dan Campbell, he's arguably the next coach on the hot seat here, but about to lose his job. I could bring up Aaron Rodgers' record against Detroit, which is 18-6 all time, 5-1 ATS, 5-1 straight up since 2019. I could bring up Detroit's ATS record at home under Dan Campbell, which is 7-5, 2-2 this season. Bottom line, I heard your argument last week with the Detroit at home. They're a better team. I didn't want to believe it. Admittedly, though, I think you were really on the ball there. I know they lost. I know they didn't cover, but that was a kind of witchy game. One play is a difference, and they get that cover. They actually get the win. Both teams, they barely won or they barely lost the cover last week, bottom line. They're both 2-2, either on the road or at home for Detroit and Green Bay. That's irrelevant to me. Green Bay literally failed to do anything at the trade deadline, despite trying to. The Lions, they lost their star tight end, TJ Hawkinson, who kind of here and there had his own injury problems. Jason, I've got two bottom NFC teams. They're essentially on auto fade. Yet again, here's where I find myself. This is another spot with Aaron Rodgers. He should succeed. He succeeded before in the past. And what has happened every single time? He's been absolutely and utterly abysmal, and he's been a fucking loser. With that, my fade of the week, I'm fading the Packers. I'm fading his history. I am going to actually pick the Lions to cover 3.5.
Wow.
Get one at home for Danny Campbell. Again, not that this is a good argument for the people, and maybe this is a game I tell them don't play it out of caution, but literally how many games this season alone have we seen Aaron Rodgers, here's a dub, here's something you can easily get, and he fucks it up. The one time he didn't was Tampa Bay, and that was the one game I called where I was like, he'll probably get this one because Tampa Bay just looks terrible, and I think Tampa Bay looked worse. And Green Bay I get it, they're coming off a bad Sunday Night Football loss, but again, Aaron Rodgers, Sunday Night Football, a time he always wins. He chokes admittedly to the best team in the NFL, the Bills. But other games prior to that, here's a team you could beat. Here's Washington. You could beat them, doesn't show up. God, what were the other games? I'd have to look it up. But how many games have we seen this with Rodgers this year? Why should I do it now when the last 3 or 4 times he's done it, he's failed me? So this is really just a gut pick. I'm fading Rodgers. I'm done trying to pretend this is the smart play. Clearly it isn't. If I had an over-under pick, I would pick the over only because Detroit's defense is so bad. Aaron Rodgers actually might wake up for this game. The real question on this over-under pick is going to be whether Jared Goff and the Lions wake up at home. Now that they don't have TJ Hawkinson, do they start relying on DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown more? Are they going to open up the wide receiver depth? I don't really know. I doubt I even play this game, to be quite honest with you. But you know what? I'm done pretending that Aaron Rodgers is the Aaron Rodgers of old. He's not. The guy is a fucking loser right now. And I'm not going to put my money on a damn loser with loser-ass mentality of blaming everyone else for his problems. I'm not going to do it. I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, boy. Yeah, like I said, I always love Detroit at home with Dan Campbell. They actually covered the last 7 games as home underdogs against NFC North opponents, and they've actually won 4 of their last 5 as home underdogs against NFC opponents. Might have been covered. I have 1. You know me, I always say the Lions are a different team at home. They really should have won and should have covered last week. So, you know me, I love Detroit at home. I'm a sucker for the Lions at home. But you know what I'm even a bigger sucker for?
No!
Even bigger
no! Don't you dare! No!
I don't want to.
Don't!
Aaron Rodgers always beats the Lions. I don't want to. Like, I'm trying to talk myself out of it because I really don't want to.
Jason, no.
I'm trying to find a way not to.
You
Bro, they
literally said
always
on the
beat the
pod you were
Lions.
done betting the Rock. You were done betting the Packers.
But God, they're like so low. I mean, think about it this way. Last year, you knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to play the full game. And they were the same spread. They were 3.5-point favorites last year in Detroit without Aaron Rodgers for a half, with their backups in. They were 3.5-point favorite now.
And Detroit won.
God, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do
it. You wonder why I drink sometimes, and not even that I'm that bad, but Jesus Christ, man! Like,
bro,
do you ever learn your lesson?
Bro, Aaron Rodgers always beats the Lions.
How many weeks have I heard you say Aaron Rodgers? Bro, this season's not it. This season's not it.
Winning. I bet against him last week and thankfully was able to make some money.
Come on, Dingus. That should be your hint. Like,
I don't want to bet him. I'm gonna try really hard not to bet him. But in a pick, I mean, they always win. I love the Lions too. I always like to bet Lions points at home. But my God, this Lions team, they're firing their coaches. Dan Campbell looks like he's got half a leg out the door. They just traded their star tight end.
I get that. It's just, I look at this Green Bay team. If they had done literally anything at the trade deadline, I'd have maybe seen your point a little more. But they literally have done nothing to change. Why on earth would I expect them to show up here? And again, your argument of taking Green Bay probably does make more sense than me just hating on Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay. God, I can't do this. I can't put my money on Rodgers in this game. Really on it, even against the worst team arguably in the NFC.
There's only 12 games. You need to put it on somebody.
I guess.
God, it's just, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to, but it's like, God, Rodgers always beats the Bears, and he always seems to beat the Lions. That crap game notwithstanding. And it's like, my God, I mean, the Packers,
Detroit, we'll go to an over-under pick. We'll switch this up. Detroit, 5-2 overs this year. They actually have the highest record. All 5 home games, they were over. Again, I think Rodgers does wake up. Detroit having the highest record. I'll say this real quick on ATS. After a loss, Detroit, since last year, Detroit, 9-9 ATS after a loss. Green Bay this year, 2-2 ATS after a loss. This just literally seems like you put each team on a coin, flip it, and whatever it lands on, you can bet on. I'm going to introduce the next game, Jason. I'll let you get your thoughts, and then I'll just take a quick brief step away. I got to hit that. Minnesota, they're traveling to Washington, 3.5-point favorites on the road, -172, +144 on the money line for the Commanders. Over-unders at 43.5.
Yeah.
And what do you got, bud?
So I really wanted to bet on the Commanders here. They've actually won their last 5 games in November. And in this series, the underdogs actually covered 6 of the last 7. Vikings' pass defense has been weak. The question is, does Washington have a good enough offense to really take advantage of that? And my concern is Washington's offensive line has been a bit susceptible at times to pass rush, and the Vikings have had a good defensive line when it comes to sacks. With all the distractions surrounding Daniel Snyder, who may be finally forced to sell the team, he's looking at selling the team. There's like a federal indictment on the team now for tax evasion. This Washington team, they've been playing good football. I really want to back them in this game. But with all the distractions, Minnesota's clearly the better team. They're getting TJ Hawkinson now. Their receivers are good. Washington's defense has been mediocre. Like, this is a big step up in competition for Washington. And Just the line's too small. I can't really justify backing Washington in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I can't back Washington here. Again, as you mentioned, the good news, Dan Snyder might be selling the team. It's even better considering they are having a winning record, 3 in a row, straight up end ATS. By the way, Chase Young has also been activated off the PUP. I want to say it was the PUP list, so he will be back for this next game. That's right, Blitz. Yes, he will. I know, bud.
In streak
I
mode?
know. Oh, Jesus, my dog is losing his shit right now. It's all good. Yeah, here's the thing, though. Minnesota, Washington, they're coming off a good streak. They now have to play Minnesota, who have essentially won. And I want to make sure I get this right. Blitz, shut up. Yeah, here we go. Minnesota, they've won 5 in a row, but they've only won 2 in a row ATS. And this year alone, Minnesota's actually 3 and 4 ATS. You get teams with these winning streaks. One of these teams is not like the other, and come on, man, like it's Washington. Washington's not the team out of these two who is better than the other. It's not. I don't even think it's close. I mean, you get Washington. They're 4th place in their division. They've only gotten this close, I feel like, out of pure luck.
Yeah,
Minnesota,
they were a second away from losing last week.
Yeah, Minnesota. They were a second away from losing against Chicago. I mean, at this point, it's like, I get it, though. Minnesota, they're 1st in their division. They made these big moves. God, though, like, I've seen this thing with, I said this with, God, who the hell was it? I said I saw this, too, with, I want to say it was New England. Maybe even Miami. God, this team just looks like they're due for a letdown. They look like they're overdue for a disappointment.
Well, they've won so many close games that have been within 7 or 8 points. You're just kind of waiting for the one they don't win.
Yeah, Vikings, though, winners of 4 of their last 5 against Washington. Taylor Heineke, I know he's not playing his best. The guy is winning. I just can't really put money on him. But I think at this point, we got to start respecting him more. I think if he does end up winning this game, he needs more respect. I looked at his last 10 starts just out of curiosity. The dude was 7-3, straight up. His only losses were to Dallas and Philly. Mm-hmm. Kirk Cousins this year, 2-1 on the road. His only loss was also Philly, but that was the Monday Night Football game. Actually, my worst handicap of the year. I openly admit that. My thing here is Minnesota wins. It's just betting on them ATS at literally any point has been a struggle, especially for me. I just can't seem to get the right side of it. Washington's defense getting Chase Young back, I think, makes a bigger splash than we anticipate. It makes me lean on Washington to cover the 3.5. I'm not going to make the same mistake I made last week, though, where I said the same thing, and I took Minnesota, said the road team would cover. I know Minnesota's on the road, but this is a game I think Minnesota wins. I would pick Washington to cover 3.5. I wouldn't go any lower. The play here is Minnesota at -186. It's a bit chalky, but it's not -200 chalky. And honestly, I think that would be a play where you would get your money's worth out of that investment. Which, again, I know it would be 36 to win 20, but honestly, I think that's worth it. Just to play it safe. Actually, I didn't have an over-under pick. That's odd. Over-under 43.5. This just seems like God. I want to say this is an overplay by default, but that's really only because like Heineke has actually been able to get some performance out there. He has been able to get some points. I think Minnesota could just get 30 and let the Commanders do the rest, but not my favorite play whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. God, so many 1 o'clock games, not enough 4 o'clock games. Okay, we're halfway through the ones. We'll get through the next team, which we had a couple bouts with, but
we're back.
We're back. Carolina travels to the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals who are coming off a horrible, harsh Monday Night Football loss to the Browns. Bengals are minus 7.5 point favorites at home, minus 360 on the money line, plus 290 for the Panthers. Over-unders at 42.5. And the lady came home. So, Madsman, what are your thoughts?
Sure. So, surprise, Carolina has now lost 7 straight road games. This week will be 8 straight road games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big stat to me. Big stat to me that's the difference here when you look at the game. Carolina 31st on defense in sacks. That's going to be key because if you look at that Bengals game, they couldn't run the ball and they couldn't protect Joe Burrow. And I don't think Carolina has the same pass rushers. I think it was an embarrassing performance by Cincinnati against the team that they never seem to beat anyway. And I am concerned. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned with the fact that Jamar Chase is out. Definitely looked like a different offense last week. But if the Panthers really are unable to get pressure, which they've kind of struggled with all year, and remember, too, I mean, the game last week, how did they even lose that game last week? And I think Cincinnati's a step up.
A miracle.
They beat the team. Like, Carolina lost that game to Atlanta. They beat Atlanta.
A witch came in and cursed that game. I swear to God. Like, I don't know how else you explain that bullshit. Literally, PJ Walker, an XFL quarterback, Hail Marys it to DJ Moore. He takes his helmet off the same fashion as Stephon Diggs in the Miracle of Minnesota. Gets called for a penalty.
Well, in the Miracle of Minnesota, the game was over, so that was the difference.
That's true, but then you get the extra point, which was fine. Like, it was a 45-yarder, and he still shanks it. That's all I can explain that game. Witchy powers. There was a hex. I don't really know. Anyways, your final prediction for that game.
Yeah, I think this game's a blowout. I really see. And again, I've been wrong. Could be 2 weeks in a row, but obviously I'm not as crazy about it as this. But I could see Cincinnati. Burrow stays upright. Their offense, their passing offense, I think they could feast.
Yeah, here's my concern. Now, admittedly, I'm not going to be all pro Panthers like I was last week. Here's my concern. Cincinnati in games favored by 7 points or more since 2020. 2-3 straight up, 1-4 ATS. This season, though, alone, and just in general, they're 2-1 straight up in ATS in home games. The Bengals haven't beaten the Panthers since 2010. Their last 2 games they played against each other were a tie and a loss. Now, albeit these are very different teams since 2018 and 2014, which were the last time these 2 teams played. This, to me, just, again, this is probably a horrible handicap, according to you. How many times have we seen this Bengals team, huge favorites, clear win, and they just don't show up?
That's happened. That has happened.
New York Jets 2021, I'll remind you of that, because that happened to me, and I know I lost money on that. So, Panthers, I know they've lost their 5 of their last 6. They covered 2 in a row, but they haven't covered against 4 AFC opponents in a row. I'm not a fan of either side here, so literally just looking at this, having to make a pick, I'll lean on the side of Cincy only because they're 7-3 ATS after a loss since last year. It wouldn't shock me if they covered. God, you know what? Like, this is so bad. I'll admit this. Give me the Panthers plus the 7.5. I have a feeling like.
Yeah, you've been rolling with them. They covered last week, so maybe they'll.
It's not even that I think they'll win. I think Cincy winning would be the smarter play, especially, but not with those odds. I mean, if I have to play this game, I don't even really like the over/under here. I'm playing the 7.5, and that's if I have to play it. Considering there's only 12 games, I have no good argument. I have really no good justification. If anything, it probably tells me to take Cincy. They're just such a big favorite. I've seen this happen. They get a big favorite game after a loss, they look embarrassed, and then they just don't show up. No, Jamar Chase is also concerning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're gonna see this week if they have a bad offense this week. Gonna
All right.
raise some questions.
All right, 2 more 1 o'clock games. LA Chargers coming off the bye. They travel to Atlanta, best ATS team in the league. Minus 3-point favorites on the road. Minus 166 for the Chargers. Plus 140 for the Falcons. Over-unders at 49.5.
Let the rage flow through you.
I don't know what I hate more. Do I hate the Chargers? Which I think is self-explanatory here. Do I hate the Chargers? Do I hate Brandon Staley?
Yes.
Do I hate the blonde-haired bitch and Justin Herbert?
Clearly.
Do I hate Marcus Mariota, who
No.
just
He's your
couldn't
guy.
get it done against God,
Atlanta's your team. I guess not.
You're gonna force me into this. No, I like Atlanta here. This just seems like a good spot for them at home. They just came off a real tough win. Chargers coming off the bye, which I mentioned earlier. Teams coming off the bye as of lately since the COVID year, they have not performed well. Chargers really didn't do anything. Really, this kind of just comes down to, and I think if you want to play this now with this angle, it would make more sense. Is Keenan Allen going to start? Because now they don't have Mike Williams.
Yeah.
If their whole offense relies on Austin Eckler, I think the Falcons could actually come away with this game and win outright. But God, I hate that. One more time. I'm sorry I did. No, I'm not sorry because I was right. But you know what? Like, I've been on the ball with the Falcons every week, for the most part, every week. One more time. Give me the Falcons to cover the 3. I'd shoot for them as one of my underdogs this week. I don't really like it. It's probably my least favorite, but I just hate the Chargers. Coming off a bye, traveling to the East Coast against an NFC team, I can't see it happening. God, with so many unknowns, it's hard for me to play it.
Yeah, see, I lean Chargers, but with you liking the Falcons, I'm hesitant to bet against you. The reason why is stat-oriented again. Atlanta, worst passing defense in the league. We saw it last week. And what can the Chargers do? They throw the ball. That's what they do. Now, the alternative to that is the fact that the Atlanta Falcons do have one of the best rushing attacks in the league, and the Chargers defense has stopped the run or been unable to stop the run. So based on that, what my handicap for the game is really going to need to look like is the Chargers are going to need to get up early, which I think they can do with their passing game. Now, again, the injuries concern me. Atlanta has injuries in the secondary. That's why it's not one of my favorite games. There are a lot of question marks. But I think if I have to choose between like the Chargers passing attack and the Falcons rushing attack, after what I saw from the Falcons defense last week, where P.J. Walker became XFL MVP and torched the team, yeah, they probably should have lost last week to Carolina. I don't think they're going to get away with it this week. I'm not a big fan of the Chargers, to tell you the truth, but lean Chargers.
I could respect that, and again, this isn't my strongest play whatsoever. I really don't even. I personally just don't have any real stats to back one team one way or the other, unlike most of the rest of these games. This to me is literally a gut play. It's like the Chargers, not only are they inconsistent, maybe it's the emotional part where I can't stand them, but at the same time, like, if their offensive identity comes down to Austin Eckler and nothing else, I think the Falcons could do enough to stop it. especially too if Herbert really has nobody to throw to, which Josh Palmer, fine, serviceable. Maybe he gets a play or two. I mean, Atlanta's cornerbacks have been cooked for the past few games, and I've seen that happen. So I think there is an argument to what you said. It's just I don't know if I want to play this game yet. Maybe this comes down to whether I get the injury reports. But I think if you like Atlanta, play it now before Keenan Allen is ruled out, if that happens. Because if it does, I think that line moves closer to 4.5, maybe 5.5, and then you have to think a little bit harder. But I'm ready for the last 1 o'clock game, and on our Twitter rant. Most disappointing team in the league, the Las Vegas Raiders, -1.5 point road favorites, going to Jacksonville, coming off their London loss to my Denver Broncos.
Oh, look at this guy.
Hey, let me have the goddamn win. Look, you're lucky I'm not wearing a cowboy hat and saying let's ride.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, Jacksonville +106. The over-under's at 47.5. Your old man. Your old man was a diehard Raiders fan. It's hard for me to imagine the level of disappointment he had in his life as a Raiders fan.
It was something. It was something.
Where do you go? These are like literally the this is garbage game of the week.
Yeah,
this
is crap. This is crap.
Literally, this is Sunday ticket worthy if you want to see terrible. If you want to see terrible football, turn this game on. Just start this off. I can't do this. Like, I don't have a good play.
These two teams, it's like the unstoppable force and the immovable object. Neither one of these teams can win close games. They both lose every close game they play in. Why are the Raiders a road favorite again? They have won, I'll say it again, 0 games on the road. And they're a road favorite again. Why? Oh my God. It's like, no.
I mean,
literally, here's my handicap. Jacksonville. You know why? Because I can't bet this Raiders team as a road favorite again. So sick of this team. They're mediocre in like every category. Their defense is mediocre. Their offense is mediocre.
Yeah.
They don't turn the ball over on offense a lot of the times, which is why they're in so many close games. They just don't win. And they probably will win this game because this is a team they beat. But I can't bet them. I hate this game. Here's my handicap. Non-existent. Waste your money somewhere else. God, brutal.
Yeah, to be fair, though, Jacksonville has lost 3 in a row at home. More concerning, they've lost 5 in a row outright. Especially with Doug Peterson, who was supposed to be a better coach, a leader, someone who could lead them to success. It literally looks exactly like Urban Meyer, but without the perviness and the bullshit in the organization. Trevor Lawrence, he's 1-2 against AFC West teams, and by AFC West teams, I mean he's 0-2 against the Denver Broncos, and he's 1-0 against the Chargers.
Trevor Lawrence is a bust. Can we briefly? This guy is a loser. Should have beat Denver, but he throws an interception in the end zone and then takes a shit intentional grounding penalty. I talked about that last night. This guy is a bust. And I'll tell you what, we talk about Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence just is immunized from winning like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this guy just finds ways to lose.
Well, to be fair, Trevor Lawrence actually got the vaccine. It's from my understanding. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But Aaron Rodgers is the only one that actually like self-proclaimed himself to be immunized. Again, loser mentality, loser logic. Let me lie to the media by not lying to them, by technically giving them some uber intelligent bullshit, which really isn't intelligence, it's just a lie. No, this comes down to me, and again, not the best play, not my best handicap, but you know what? Like, you look at the Jags, they've played the Bill. They've only beaten 4 teams ever at home. With God Trevor. They beat the Bills in that 9-6 horrible spot game. They beat the Dolphins once. They beat the Colts twice at home, which is kind of like a Jacksonville Jaguars tradition.
Only team they could beat.
And anyone in the AFC East except the Patriots and the Jets. Oh, I don't get it. The Raiders coming off the shutout really scares me because, again, like, the Raiders got shut out. They should be due for a bounce back. They should rebound and get a good win against a horrible team regardless, right? Right. And then you remember the Raiders.
It's so angry. I could see it now. I'm going to end up betting this goddamn Raiders team, too. I know it. It's going to be the Packers and the Raiders because you're exactly right. Coming off a bad loss, the Jaguars are coming back from London. They'll probably win. No, I can't do it again. This Raiders.
Yeah, I can't do it either, bud. Let's do the math, though. We're going to play this out of curiosity. The Raiders are road favorites at 1.5, and let's do some simple math. So, real quick lesson for the folks if you don't know betting. 1.5 favorite. What does that mean, Jason? They have to win by how many points?
2 points.
Okay, the Raiders haven't covered or even won in 5 straight road games. Now, at 1.5, what does that mean? That means the Jags, as a home underdog, would have to either win or lose by how many points?
1.
Okay, so what's more likely here? The Raiders winning all of a sudden on the road by 2 points or more, or the Jaguars winning at home or losing a really close game by 1. God rest your old man's soul. I don't think he would make it through another game as a Raiders fan if he failed to cover. But my play is the Jags. Just take the Jags. It's a more logical in my argument. I think if you have to play this game, take the home team as an underdog. Take the 1.5.
Yeah. Throw them in a teaser if you feel lucky.
Sure. But there's just no angle I like the Raiders here because it's just like, you wait a minute. They're going to finally win a road game against arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL. But on top of that, they're going to cover too. Something else they haven't done was win or cover. Don't see it here.
Yeah, I can't justify. I mean, again, it's say what you will about betting on Green Bay, which may be equally stupid, but at least there's a track record. At least there's a history. The Raiders, you're like, oh well, they're better than they are, but it's like they have 2 wins, and they literally haven't won on the road all year. So
can't do it.
Can't do it.
Nope. All right. Finally, we're into the 4 o'clock games. We only have 4 games left, dude. Let's power through it. Ah, man. Seattle going to Arizona. 2-point road dogs. Plus 110 on the money line. Minus 130 for the Cardinals. Over-unders at 49.5. And I think it's my turn to start here. This is going to be an eerily similar handicap I had to the Rams and the Niners last week. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. Everything in the world is telling me to take one team. I'm going to play the other. This week, I just really wanted to take the Cardinals. I can't find myself to do it. I really wanted to fade Seattle. That means I would have to lock in Arizona, and I can't do it. I literally can't do it. I tried. I looked at it. It just doesn't seem right. And I know this is square. I know this is a bad play because Seattle right now, they're getting 64% of the money on the spread. They're getting 62% of the bets. But here's the problem. This is going to bring me one game closer to making me buy a case of beer for you. Just kidding. Here's the real reasons. Reason number one, Kyler has dropped 3 in a row as a starter to the Seattle Seahawks. Now I know what you're thinking out there. Wait a minute. Didn't the Seahawks lose to the Cardinals back last season? You're correct. They did. You know who the starter for that game was for the Cardinals? It was Colt McCoy.
Colt McCoy.
Here's reason number 2. And now, albeit Arizona did win at home finally against the Saints on Thursday Night Football 2 weeks ago, they once again have to host a division game at home, which hasn't exactly gone in their favor, in which they've straight up lost 5 of their last 6 against NFC West opponents. They were 2-8 straight up in their last 10. And one of those victories that they got in that last 5 of 6 was that Colt McCoy victory. Reason number 3, Geno Manning. Guy's won 3 in a row. He's been a stud. He's averaging a 107 QBR this season, 4-2 ATS as an underdog this season. The only concern I have here is the Seahawks haven't racked up back-to-back road wins since 2020 with Russell Wilson. This just seems to me like if there's a spot they'll get a back-to-back road win, if that's my concern. This just seems like the game they'll do it. And now I can make the Call of Duty bullshit argument where Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is now out, and is Kyler going to not pay attention and not do his homework? But you know what? Like, bro, I tried. I wanted to take Arizona. I can't do it. I can't do it here. I'm not going to make the mistake last week like I did with the Rams. I can't do it. I'll admittedly say this is going to put me one step even closer to losing to you. But you know what? Like, this isn't about that bet. This is about telling the people who I think they should pick, whether my answers are good or not. My money line record says otherwise. It's pretty decent, but dude, you're better off taking the Seahawks here. That's the handicap.
Dog of the week, Seattle Seahawks +2. Why are they even underdogs in this game? When you look at it, Seattle covered their last 4 as underdogs against the Cardinals. And the Cardinals have not won 5 of their last 6 as home favorites.
Which I brought up.
Yeah. And you said as well 5 of their last 6 against NFC West opponents. I mean, if you look at the first matchup, the Seahawks dominated the Cardinals really throughout that entire game. Never really in depth.
It wasn't even close. It was.
And the question is Hopkins going to substantially change the situation in this game? My thought is no. I'm getting the Seattle Seahawks plus money, plus points. Dog of the week. Don't overthink it. Seattle Seahawks. I just think the Cardinals are not that good. We need to realize that they're not that good. And we need to accept the fact that the Seahawks are having a good year. And with Kenneth Walker and Russell Wilson leading the way, this team's got something.
Russell Wilson's gone, bud. It's Geno Manning.
Excuse me. Sorry, Geno Manning. My apologies. Please forgive
me. Not
Lord.
Geno Smith. Geno Smith was a scrub from the Jets and the Giants. We're talking about Geno Manning.
Geno. Yeah, I told you last week I like both teams. I like Seattle and the Giants. Well, the Giants are on the bye, so I had to bet my my dog of the week. And yeah, I don't know why this team's an underdog in this game. So
I think they're an underdog, and I'll be 100% real here. This is my real opinion. I think we're getting teams that are actually on par, about equal. If you actually look at their roster, to be fair, with DeAndre Hopkins. This is a dead even team, like a mother.
Who's a better coach?
But I think, I'm trying to just justify why I think the odds are the way they are. I don't think it's correct. I think the odds are that Arizona's at home. so they get the 2-point swing.
Two at home field. I got you.
That's literally my argument as to why Seattle would be. Because I really do believe you look at these teams, they are about dead even. But in reality, I mean, you want to bet against Geno right now, feel free. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bet on Kyler either. I think that's more of the play here. I'm fading Kyler more than really in love with Geno. And again, Geno Montana might have a day. Geno Manning from 2015 could show up too. I don't really know, but I guess the argument is, do you think DeAndre Hopkins makes a real difference here? My problem is Kyler would have to throw to him. And even when he does, he still finds ways to lose. So
the fact that the Cardinals got 9 points in the first matchup doesn't give me a whole lot of promise, especially because, like we've always said, they tend to be better on the road. And you have to remember, too, that Saints game was a little misleading because while they did dominate the game, they also got those 2 pick sixes before the...
Yeah, they get the 2 picks.
It's kind of... And the Vikings game, again, they lost to the Vikings last week. I'm just down on this Cardinals team.
Especially, too, when I think a lot of sharps otherwise were on the Cardinals to cover the 3.5, and they just laid an egg. Whereas, again, this is why I kicked myself in the nads. I really liked Minnesota just to win. I don't know why I was scared enough to take them at the 3.5. Maybe the same thing this week where it was like, God, it's like, I do like Minnesota to win. Am I really going to take them with the points? They've just been so hard to predict ATS, and that's really what that comes down to.
You know me, I love to bet against the Cardinals. So.
That's true. No, and again, like I think I've been pretty good at finding spots where like teams could break certain trends. And I think for Arizona, or sorry, not for Arizona, I think for Seattle to break the trend of getting back-to-back road wins, I think this is the perfect spot for them to do it. Speaking of trends, loser Tom coming off his divorce officially now, by the way, it was on Instagram. Tom Brady and the Bucs, they're hosting the LA Rams. They're 3-point home favorites, minus 146 on the money line, plus 124 for the Rams. The over-under's at 42.5. Jason, why are the Bucs at all a home favorite? You said this with the Raiders and the Jets. Why are the Bucs a favorite? I've been down on this team since week 2 when they played week 3 when they played the goddamn Packers. I've been down. I said this team sucks. They're not the same as always. Tom Brady has fallen off the cliff finally. Why are they favorites?
Don't know. I agree with you completely. Can this be like my dog of the week, my puppy of the week? I don't know.
Puppy of the week. No, this is Chewbacca. This is Chewbacca of the week. That may have to be a new thing. Where's the Chewbacca game? It would have to be this.
Yeah. Rams, I think, have won. Let's see. What's the stat here now? See, this is what happened. I have it on my phone now, so I'm trying to see it. And, of course, I moved the stat the wrong way. Oh, the Rams have won their last 6 against the Bucs as an underdog.
Whoa, okay, I didn't have that stat. You might be the new stat guy.
No, that was just an interesting one that I found. But really, I mean, if you look at the Rams' schedule, they haven't been good. But they've lost to some good teams. Cowboys, the Niners, who they never beat twice, who aren't that bad. They lost to the Bills. Like, their schedule has been pretty difficult. They haven't been good. They're below 500. But you look at it, and it's not like they've really had a lot of, quality of, like, it's not like they're losing to the scum of the earth sort of teams. They sort of won the games they're supposed to win. And yeah, the fact that they're a 3-point underdog against the ghost of what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doesn't really make a lot of sense.
If we had the soundboard, we would cue "This is Chewbacca," because that's what this game is to me. This game is the Chewbacca game. And literally, here I'm going to show you here. This mascot blitz for everybody is just—he's trying to figure this out too. He doesn't understand. Do you know why they're home favorites? No, I don't either, bud. Okay, so let's just go with this. Dog of the week. Give me the Rams.
Okay. Support it
Because
wholeheartedly.
once again, I'm going to remind you and I'm going to remind the world, money management. This Tampa team is on my auto fade list. They have lost 5 of their last 6 games. And again, the Rams have not been as good as you mentioned. Do you dare trust old man Tom Brady? And if so, why? Why would you give this man any more money than you've already lost? And now I get the Rams. They're maybe going through their own Super Bowl hangover. There's a certain spot you need to take Sean McVay and the LA Rams. This is when they play against literally any NFC South team. Rams since 2018, 9-2 straight up and 8-3 ATS. 6 in a row straight up against the NFC South. 5-1 ATS. They literally failed to cover against Atlanta earlier this year, and that was a backdoor cover. Now, specifically, you want to go against Tampa, Tom. So Tom Brady with Tampa. Rams are 3-0 straight up in ATS. You're going to give me this team as a 3-point road dog against a Tampa team who is 0-4 ATS at home. Are you shitting me? Like, I don't know what I'm missing here. I don't get where all of a sudden Tampa's a home favorite. And again, I understand
they were
the
home
Rams.
favorite last week too. How'd that work out?
Why were they a home favorite last week to the Ravens? I mean, again, the Ravens, very similar situation. The Ravens, I know they haven't been playing their best football. I know they've given up a lot of big leads. What made you think the Ravens were a road dog? That made no sense to me either. And again, like, my handicap for that game was I like the Ravens as a favorite. Now I'm getting them as a dog. Why would I change it? Here is the only nugget I was able to find that could concern you. Rams haven't covered as an underdog yet this year. As a road team, they've only lost 4 games since 2021.
Oh wow.
They lost twice to Green Bay and they lost twice to San Francisco. You consider the Bucs not even being able to tie their own shoelaces, and the Rams, who admittedly they're inconsistent. I don't even think this is a debate. I think this was literally my easiest dog of the week I've had all year. This is just a no-brainer. I'm taking the Rams all the way.
Yeah.
If I know I haven't really gone over under plays, and that's because given my record with them over the first half of the year, I've actually leaned away towards it. What I'll probably do is I'll throw something up on the Twitter later. But this is a game I think that does warrant an over-under pick, and if I had to pick one here, I would go under 42.5, only because the Bucs have really just been so inconsistent in showing up with their offense. This is a game I feel like the Rams defense could wake up and just shut down Tom Brady, shut down the run. And I feel like Matt Stafford's going to do what Matt Stafford always does and just like get some mediocrity. But not my favorite play.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, we're into the prime time. I made it through last week's primetime games. Will I do it again? Let's find out. Tennessee coming off the bye, if I'm not mistaken. No, I'm kidding. They fucking...
Yeah, it's Kansas City that's coming off the bye.
Well, Tennessee played Houston, so it's arguably a debate.
It might have been a bye.
It might have been a bye. Yeah, no, Tennessee, they're coming off the Houston Texans win, traveling to Kansas City coming off a bye. They're going in as 12.5-point road dogs. Plus 40 on the money line for the Titans, minus 650 for the Chiefs, over-unders at 46.5. And interesting nugget I wanted to bring up before we get your opinion, JWoww. Kansas City is getting 54% of the money on the spread, but 58% of the bets are going towards Tennessee to cover. I'll let you break the news to the people of how you should play this game. I have my own personal opinions. I think we have very similar sentiments. Who's the one guy you don't bet against on the bye?
Andy fucking Reid.
Why? Why are these people putting money on Tennessee?
Because it's
well, maybe it's a spread play. Maybe it's the spread play. But
it's because Barney has the Tennessee Titans have won 5 in a row. That's the problem. But you know what Barney doesn't realize.
Technically, that's not true, but that's if you include playoff games.
I think what you have to realize with our good friends, the Tennessee Titans, and don't get me wrong, they're going in your Titans Chiefs bet to win the divisions, looking pretty solid right now. Told you that was a good bet. I like
that was easy money.
Yeah,
I feel like that was easy money. Just like, wait a minute, you're giving me the Chiefs plus and the Titans plus money to win the division?
Yeah, I might have to start doing futures bets next year because I'm missing out on some green opportunities.
Yeah. Jets over under 5.5 is in peril. Steelers over 7.5 is in peril. My division my division sicko mode bet with the NFC East is currently looking great, but we still have half a year to go.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, like the problem with Tennessee is the Chiefs actually have the 3rd ranked rush defense in the league. Oh, it's
second.
I thought
second.
It was
3rd. You know what? It depends. Maybe it's where you look.
Top 5 rush defense in the league. They have a top 5 passing offense against a bottom 10 defense against the pass in Tennessee. Look, I love what Tennessee's done, but you look at it, they've gotten some fortunate turnovers. They've gotten some sort of lucky bounces. You look at the Indianapolis game where they get a turnover, didn't score an offensive touchdown. They play Houston, gives up 200 yards on the ground. I just think you're not going to be able to run the ball. Kansas City is going to be able to pass the ball. It's in Kansas City. Andy Reid coming off a bye, who we all know is good off the bye. This is just a bad matchup spot for the Titans. And this is I know it's going to sound ridiculous because it's a 12.5 point spread. Fade of the week, because clearly the public likes the Titans. Fade of the week, fading Tennessee that's won 5 straight. Love what they've done. This is fading a team that's won 5 straight. It's time for them to get back to reality.
I don't like that it's your fade of the week, but I guess I get your logic.
Well, it's kind of hard. There's not really many other teams to fade. Like, think about it. Could the Rams have been my fade of the week? No, the Bucks are literally piss water right now.
Let me see the stats real quick. LA's getting more of the bets, but Tampa's getting more of the money. An argument to be made there. I faded Green Bay, who's getting more of the money and the bets.
But even that's hard. I like this as a fade of the week because one team has won they're 5-2 or 4-3 or whatever they are, first in their division. Green Bay has lost 8,000 games in a row. It's literally they're the lowest they've been, and it's my fade of the week going against Green Bay. Duh, everybody's going against Green Bay now.
Well, it doesn't seem like they're going against it. Considering Green Bay's playing the worst team in the NFL, arguably, or at least the second worst team. But okay, you know what? I'll give you this. Tennessee has been very successful against Kansas City. So if you want to fade history, I can give you that. At the very least. I think that's the respectable thing to do. Admittedly, the Titans, they've gotten the better of Mahomes. This is not even nearly close.
I forgot about your AFC South Mahomes stat. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's such a weird spot, but
Andy Reid.
my problem is this is not the same. God, and I sound like I'm repeating myself now that you mentioned that, but this isn't the same Titans team we're used to, who actually had a passing offense and had receivers. And by receivers, I mean AJ Brown. They can't even pass the ball. Literally, Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill has gone over 200 passing yards twice this season. You want to know who that's on par with, Jason? And this is what's going to shock you. Do you know who that's on par with?
Justin Fields.
No. You know who it's not on par with? Zach Wilson, who's had 4 games.
Oh my
It's
God.
not on par with Taylor Heineke. It's on par with Daniel Jones, who has just as many.
Wow.
Which, let's be real, Dayball is telling him not to throw the ball, and they're letting Saquon do the running. And Justin Fields, who has one game less. What does this tell us? They're going to run the ball, and like you mentioned, the Chiefs' rush defense. They're top 5 in rushing defense. They have given up the second fewest rushing yards this season and the second fewest rushing touchdowns. Now, has Derrick Henry feasted on this team before? Absolutely. He's got 4 touchdowns and 332 rushing yards across 3 games. Has Kansas City only managed to beat this team in the playoffs with Patrick Mahomes? Yes. But again, let's reemphasize this. Andy Reid off the bye. Do you want to fade against that? Be my guest. Because I know 12.5 is steep, but I'm getting 20-3 straight up all time, 12-1 straight up at home for Andy Reid. Give me Kansas City. And you know what? I know this is so bad and probably so Barney, but I'm looking at these stats. 56% of the bets are on the Tennessee to cover. Give me the Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs to win by 13 or more. Honestly, the Chiefs will probably be a teaser play more than anything because 12.5 is steep. But you know what? Like, I have a hard time imagining if they can't get the rush going for whatever reason. I can't even imagine Tennessee getting a touchdown in this
Yeah,
game.
it's hard. In Kansas City, primetime Mahomes off the bye. And with that rush defense, it's just hard to really see. Like, at least the Caltata defense, the Tennessee Titans defense, let's be honest, has been opportunistic at best.
Yeah, and I will say this. Mahomes, he's had histories of struggles in certain primetime games, but those certain primetime games were Mondays. Sunday Night Football, weirdly enough, he's only struggled really against Denver, and by struggled, I mean he still fucking beats them. So what are we doing? Probably my squarest pick out of these games, but give me Kansas City here. I just don't see. Again, yeah, you're right. He does struggle against the AFC South for whatever reason. That's him and Josh Allen struggles, the AFC South. But you know what? If certain trends are to break, I think this is where it starts. We had such a witchy, cursed, hexed week last week. I think some of those things carry over, and I think this is one of them. I think Kansas City will get this done. I don't even think it's going to be considering too. Kansas City they picked up Kadarius Toney. If they actually utilize him and it works out, I don't know if it will. I don't know if they'll actually look at him that much. To be quite honest with you, I think Juju actually gets more looks at this point, considering how they performed with him lately. Bottom line, I mean, Kansas City at home Sunday night. I dare you. I literally dare the people to do this.
Yeah. It's like I said, love what Tennessee's done. They've been competitive. Look like they're going to win a division, but different. Like this year, they're literally, you look at the Bills, the Eagles. I would include the Vikings in there, the Chiefs. Those teams seem to be on a totally different level than a lot of the teams they're playing. And to me, it's really top 3. Bills, Eagles, Chiefs. Just like they're playing a different sport than a lot of the other teams. I mean, they're just really the teams that are the only ones that have really just engaged and like standard just blowing teams out. So love the Titans, love what they're doing. Second tier to me.
Sure. Speaking of second tier, we'll go to the Monday night game, which I think is going to be second tier to the Sunday night. But here we go. Baltimore traveling to New Orleans. They are going in as 2.5-point road favorites, minus 138 on the money line, plus 118 for the Saints. The over-under is at 48.5.
Primetime Lamar.
Yes, sir. Primetime. Is it my turn or is it yours? Couldn't.
Oh, I don't remember.
God.
I don't know. What do you got for this? Primetime Lamar.
Sure.
I'm sure you like Primetime Lamar.
I mean, how do you not? 9-6 ATS, 11-4 straight up in prime time for Lamar. Ravens 5-2 ATS and straight up against the Saints all time. Just under Coach Harbaugh alone, Ravens are 8-5 ATS, 10-3 straight up against NFC South opponents. New Orleans on Monday night, 2-9 ATS since 2015. They have not covered a Monday night game since 2019. New Orleans also 3-7 ATS after a win since 2021. They're 0-2 this season after a win. The weird thing is, Jason, we've gone over all the picks. There's something missing, and that was my lock of the week. Give me the Ravens 2.5. Bro, it's so low, and I'm getting primetime Lamar. Again, like last week, you're giving me primetime Lamar at such a low rate. Yeah, give me that. I'll take that anytime.
Wow.
Especially against the Saints team that's so inconsistent. They can't really seem to stack wins to save their life. They stack losses just fine, but not wins. Andy Dalton at the helm. Now, that's going to be interesting. Andy Dalton against the Ravens. That's the one thing I didn't look up. Maybe that's what makes the difference. But at the same time, it's Andy Dalton with the Saints. Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas, do they play? That's the question we keep asking ourselves week in and week out. I just think this is a spot for another Saints disappointment, especially if you look at primetime this year and last year. The Saints in primetime have just done nothing but disappoint.
They've also not covered 8 of their last 9 at home against winning teams. And especially, the weird thing about the Saints is you look at their numbers, and their numbers aren't bad. Their defense has improved since early in the year when they were terrible. They had a good week last week. It's just, my big concern is you look at it, the Ravens defense, I think they're top 5 in turnovers created, and the Saints offense has been brutal when it comes to turning the ball over. Now, there are some sharp bettors who believe that turnovers are like all luck, and it's just regression to the mean. So if you have a Saints team that's turning the ball over a lot, your thought is that, well, actually the Saints should be better, because eventually they'll stop turning the ball over because turnovers are just luck. And the Ravens defense has gotten lucky because they have.
Tell that to Zach Wilson.
I'm telling you, there are some sharps that swear by, this is interesting too, because I don't believe it either, but there are some sharps that go and swear by the fact that, well, you look at it, this team turned the ball over 4 times last week. That was unlucky because they had 4 turnovers. And turnovers are all luck. And so if you regress to the mean, next week they should do better because they won't have 4 turnovers.
I'm going to break this down. And I'm going to break this logic down in its simplest bare bones statement. I'm using luck and the fact that I don't believe in luck to justify an actual statistic that is trackable and quantifiable, which means you can count this stat. You can see how many times this happens. You can track that across a certain amount of games and get actual statistics on this. You're going to justify this as luck and then proceed to say, I don't believe in it.
Now, I will say, where that stat has worked out has been defenses year to year. So I know there are a lot of defense where their numbers weren't that great, but they were a good scoring defense because they got a lot of turnovers. Now, that is something I believe in. You want to fade a defense year to year on turnovers? I'll give you that. But it's hard for me with a team that's, 4th in turnovers this year to go and say, well, eventually during the year, they're like, somebody needs to lead the league in turnovers. Not everybody with the same amount. So, yeah, I'm with you there. My thing is, again, that's one of the thoughts. So the Saints just unlucky with the turnovers, but at the same time, Andy Dalton's been throwing a lot of, except for like last week, he has been turning the ball over. And the Ravens defense, definitely prime candidates to get a few turnovers in the game.
I mean, yeah, this is just God. I don't even know where to start other than why would you take Andy Dalton? I mean, maybe Andy Dalton's really good against the Ravens. Maybe that's why this is close. But
I just think a lot of people aren't sold on the Ravens just because they had that bad loss against the Giants that they should have won. But you look at it, they're still 5-3. I mean, okay, they beat Cleveland. It was unimpressive, but they won. They beat Tampa, who's not any good, but they won.
yeah,
They lost to the Bills, but it was a close game. They probably should have won. Haven't been bad.
I mean, I'm gonna take a look here. I don't even remember when Andy Dalton started. I just know when he left.
Andy Dalton's one of those guys you feel like he's been around forever.
Yeah, it looks like 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4. If I'm guessing correctly. A lot of covers though. But that's in with the Bengals, and that was like 5 years ago. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we're looking at this. Like, I don't know if I really want to rely on that for Andy Dalton. Which again, it's so weird because I said the same thing about him against the Raiders last week and how I faded that, and then look what the fuck happened. But
that's the Raiders who still haven't won. You have as many wins on the road as the Raiders, so Raiders suck.
Raiders suck. No, bottom line here, you're getting primetime Lamar Monday night, where the Saints have historically not been good. You're getting essentially a tier 2, tier 3 quarterback at the helm. With the Ravens defense on top of getting Roquan Smith, which I think is a huge upgrade that they desperately needed in order for them to get into the playoffs and start making a run. This could be an ugly night for Dalton. I mean, you look at what he did with Arizona. Now you're going to say, what are you going to do with Baltimore? And, I know it's not West Coast to East Coast, but it's not that much of a difference. This just seems too easy for me. The Baltimore 2.5, that's it? Like, that's it? It's all you're giving me? Like,
yeah,
okay.
I would go and lean. I don't really know if it's a game I'm going to bet because I'm not really as high on it as you, but I definitely lean primetime Lamar, lean Ravens. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, damn, man. With that, we're about 2 hours deep. We got through all 12 games.
Yeah, quick pick segment for us. Normally they go closer to 3 hours, but 12 games. We did it. Quick recap. If I guess I'll
sure. Give me your top 3 picks.
Yeah, Philadelphia best bet minus the 14. Dog of the week Seattle +2. And fade of the week, Chiefs minus 12.5. And remember, I also was definitely on with you with the Rams +3.
So. Sure. Over under pick of the week was Buffalo with the Jets. I'm taking under the 46.5. Expect a blowout there. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to show up whatsoever. Fade of the week, I'm fading Aaron Rodgers. I'm fading the logic that you should take him against Detroit. It just doesn't seem right at any time. And if I don't like it here against the second worst team, I'm not going to take it ever. Dog of the week, give me the Rams. Best bet, Baltimore, which we just went over. Maybe not well, but you know what? That's what it is. I gotta say, we were on the ball, so I'm thinking if we're gonna do a court bet this week, which I know we've been very inconsistent with, and we haven't really gone over. Maybe we should do that for the second half. Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City, 6-point teaser.
L.A. Philly, Buffalo, L.A. Because we both liked L.A. Philly, Buffalo, L.A. Kansas City, 6-point teaser. What do you think?
4 legs? Let's see. Give me like 2 minutes. I'll see what that looks like. Round robin, or sorry, not round robin. Teaser. That would put it at Eagles -8, Bills -6.5, Rams +9, Chiefs -6.5, plus 240. 20 to win 48.
There we go.
All right, we'll lock it in.
Lock it in.
Yes, sir. Hopefully Maryland Sports Betting Live comes real fucking soon. I'm tired of waiting. It's been over a damn year.
Yeah, we need that. We need that with the quickness. But I'll go and I'll put that one in. I'll try and put that one in PA. So
PA kids will get our money to fund the students.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully we'll win.
Yeah, hopefully. But no, with that note, anything else you want to? Oh, let's go over real quick. Dan Snyder hiring Bank of America. He might finally sell the team.
Hallelujah! About time.
Praise Jeebus.
Sell the team. This guy is a joke. Sell the team.
Fuck this guy. He's such a loser. You want to talk about a loser? There's so many things he's done that just. I don't even know where to begin. Maybe that's a whole episode one day we could do. Maybe when producer John gets back, we'll do a cigar shit about everything Dan Snyder's done. But you know what? I'm happy for Commanders fans. I'm happy for NFL fans. Maybe they can get a real winner. RG3 wants to get a minority stake in this, and I think that would be the best thing.
Yeah.
That would be the best thing for Commanders fans out there, if you ask me. So, yeah, one more time though. We'll end it on this note. No paper bags were needed. No garbage bags, and
we've made it. Grand total of one show without a garbage bag. So
yeah. Give a quick shout out to producer John's Harbor Discussions channel. As I mentioned, he has a couple interviews coming out from folks out in Denver from when he was on vacation. And we will be probably back in studio next week to do our recap, and we'll also do our week 9. We'll do our week 9 recap, week 10 picks, and hopefully we come back with some success. Maybe I'll come back in the Broncos jersey. We'll see. Probably not. But any last comments, Money Mansman?
No, man, no. Week 9, second half of the year. Hopefully we start it with some big dubs. So.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, you have a good night. Thank you for checking out the Distinguished DeGents podcast. And as always, go win some motherfucking money.
Amen to that.